Hello everyone, here is Ayeshika. So today I am going to talk to you what are the steps that we have to follow when we are reading a research paper, especially in social sciences. As we all know, researching in social sciences is something different than researching in natural sciences. So reading a research paper in social sciences also quite different from the pathways or the methods or the steps that we have to follow when we are reading papers or the research papers in natural sciences. As you all can see here I have selected the recent research paper that I have been reading for this week. So this is a research paper about the acculturation and mental health, its current findings and recommendation for future researchers. Um, so in this paper, when I read in this paper, or when you are reading a research paper like this, the very first thing that you have to focus on is the abstract. So for this paper, here this is the abstract. This is the abstract. In this abstract, it is mentioned as a summary about the overall research. So if you are finding a research to continue your literature review, or if you are finding a research paper to refer in your assignment, so you have to know what is the best research paper for your thing. Therefore, you have to, or you can get a basic idea about the research paper by reading the abstract. So my recommendation is first to read the abstract before to select a paper. The second thing, or the second part of the research paper that we have to consider when we are finding a good research paper for our thing is the conclusion, right? So for this paper, here it is the conclusion. Here, this is the conclusion part for this paper. Normally in a conclusion of a research paper, the researchers that who has done the research, they summarize their findings and their conclusion or overall summary of the work and an idea about the findings that they have been done during this research. So by referring the conclusion part, you may get an idea whether it supports your hypothesis or not. So after reading the conclusions part, I recommend you to read the part of the research paper that has mentioned about the future scopes for the research. So in this paper, they says that, or they have named that part as the areas for future researches. But in some research papers, they may have mentioned this as future scopes of other researchers, or in some research papers, they may have mentioned or titled this part as future recommendations for researchers. Somehow in this part, the researchers usually mention about the capabilities of doing future researchers about the same arena. So finding this, or finding by reading this part of the research paper, you may find a particular topic, or you may find a guidance for making a particular topic for your research. In my case, I am conducting my research on acculturation and mental health, so I found this part as the part that which is relevant for my study, or the future scope that they have recommend for me to do my research. So by finding or by reading this part, the future scopes, you may find the best part or the best scope that you have to carry on your research. If all those parts matches with your scope of research, then you can jump into the introduction of this research paper. For this research paper, here it is the introduction, and for most of the research papers, the introduction comes just under the abstract. So in introduction, the researchers usually introduce about their research. For this paper, they have fragmented their introduction into many subtitles as the study overview, and then they are talking about the aims of this paper, and then they are doing the conceptualization and measuring the acculturation, and then they skip for acculturation and mental health. And likewise, in any paper, there will be much descriptive in this part about the research topic and the research scope that they have selected for the research. So by referring into this part very clearly, you may get a detailed idea about the research that you are going to do. And then after going through the introduction very carefully, only then you can move into the methods, right? For in this paper, this is about the method. Method is about the way how they carry the research on. So sometimes by referring the method, you may follow a method or you may find a best method for your research, and also sometimes you may feel some contradictions about the methods and you may find alternatives for your research methods. So reading this method part here, reading this method part in a research paper is very essential, and it is something that cannot be neglected while we are doing or while we are referring to a research paper. So after reading all these patterns, then you can jump into the discussion parts. Usually some research papers they make consist of separate part that which is said as results, or some papers they both the results and discussions come under one chapter. So in this research paper also they do the discussion and the result analysis in one chapter, in a single chapter. So by referring these discussions you may get a clear idea or you may identify what is the gap here for your research. So after referring the research paper completely and while referring the research paper, I recommend you highly to maintain a notebook. Usually what I do for every assignment that I do in my university, I have a separate notebook like this. So when referring a notebook like this, I do note everything clearly because usually I am not a digital person while doing these things like. So I'm not much tend to note things down electronically on my laptop or something or some device like that. So I also recommend, if you are not a digital person, I recommend you to maintain a simple diary like this. So here I am putting my sticky notes and I'm writing things down, so it will be easy to me to refer while I am writing my paper. So this is all about the steps that you have follow when you are reading a research paper for your assignment, for your thesis. Um, and I should mention at the end, this is not the best way. This may not be the best way, but this is the way that I follow. So correct me if I am wrong at any point. Thank you so much for being with me in this video.